Good afternoon. Today our guest is Carolyn Taylor. Carolyn's been here with us at Epworth about 2 years. She was born in Lubbock, and where she lived for 8 years, and then moved to Wichita, Kansas with her family. Her dad was with Kraft Foods. Carolyn, would you tell us some more about your life?
Be glad to. Like you mentioned, I was born in my grandmother's house in Lubbock, Texas, and we lived there through my first and second grade, and then my dad's company, Kraft Cheese, transferred us to Abilene, Texas, and we were there for 4 years, and then they promoted him again and moved us to Wichita, Kansas, as I was going into the 7th grade. So that was a good time to move, although at 12 years old I felt like I'd left my whole world back in Texas. I had a wonderful junior high and high school, and was a cheerleader and student council and played in the orchestra and did everything else I could think to do. Went to Wichita University, joined a sorority, which at that time they were just local sororities, but nationals colonized my second year, and we became Delta Gamma National Fraternity, and I am well over a 50-year member. When I moved to Oklahoma City from Wichita, the first people that I called to find new friends were my Delta Gamma alumni. My husband and I were married the Sunday after I graduated from Wichita University, and we lived in Wichita until 1970, when his job brought us to Oklahoma City. At that time, we had 3 sons. The oldest one was going into the 3rd grade. The youngest one was he was about 17 months old. I take that back. We've been very happy in Oklahoma City, and with the 3 boys as they got into school, it didn't take us long to make a lot of new friends, and I eventually served as treasurer and president of the Oklahoma City Delta Gamma alum, so I've always been active there. I was always active in PTAs for the boys, and after 22 years in 1985, my husband decided that he was tired of making money for the other guy, and he wanted to go into business himself. Our oldest son had just graduated from Oklahoma University, so we bought an AMCO transmission franchise, built a new building, and went into business in July of 1985. We had that business until 2011, I believe, but I lost my husband at the September of 1999, and so our oldest son continued running the business. We had also bought a Guardian Ignition Interlock franchise in 1993, so our other 2 sons were running that business. So at the time I lost my husband, all 3 of our sons were involved in family-owned businesses. I retired at the end of 1998 from Little Giant Pump Company. I had been assistant credit manager for 17 years. And Merle was going to start slowing down. That lasted about 8 months until I lost him. And so then I had to reorganize my life after 40 years. So I spent the first year trying to decide what I wanted to do. And I heard about CASA, which is a volunteer organization through Oklahoma County, and that's an acronym for Court-Appointed Special Advocate. You are an officer of the court, and you are an advocate for children that are in the state's custody. So I inquired, I went through that training, and I loved it. And I did that for 7 years. And the only reason I left it was because one day my grandson was visiting, and I was getting ready for a court appearance at my typewriter, and he was wanting to know what I did as a CASA, and I said, well, I guess you could say I'm like an alternate grandmother for these kids. And he said, no, I want you to be my grandmother. So I thought, well, maybe I'm spending too much time being a CASA. But I was also traveling a lot at that time for about 10 or 12 years after I lost my husband. I did do a lot of international travel. Since then, I have been being a grandma, and I just decided on the spur of the minute 2 years ago to move to Epworth to relieve my sons of the responsibility of deciding what to do with me as I aged. And I've been very happy here. It's been a very pleasant experience.
Well, now it seems to me you said something about popcorn at one time.
Yes. In about 1977, my husband ran across 2 big semi-trailers of used commercial popcorn equipment. And so he decided that we needed to go into the popcorn business. So we bought these 2 trailerfuls of equipment and got it all cleaned up and found us a warehouse to rent. And we went into the popcorn business called Colonel's Corn Popcorn. And we made the big tins with the 3 flavor popcorns. And so I worked myself to death. This was before I went to work at Little Giant. Of course, between Thanksgiving and Christmas is when you're really busy. After 2 Christmases, I told him I didn't want to do that anymore. And so we sold it at a profit, thank goodness. And then I went to work for a food broker, and I was with him for a couple of 3 years, and then I went to work for Little Giant. This was after my boys were all in school. So I was home with them when they were growing up. I was a Cub Scout leader and homeroom mother and, did all those things. PTA president.
You're a busy lady.
I enjoy it.
Did you not have any siblings?
I have one brother that's 4 years younger, and he still lives in Wichita. And he was widowed about 2 years ago. And about the same time that I moved in here, he moved into a similar facility in Wichita. So we've had fun comparing notes.
Oh, that's wonderful. Carolyn, you've had the best life. You've had lots of fun and lots of sorrow too, but good life. And thank you so much for sharing it with us. We really appreciate it.